Hey guys, excuse me. Welcome to Robin Hood Diaries this evening. As previewed, oh my God, what did I preview? I don't know, whatever. Anyway, I'm excited for this show because I'm always mentioning, oh, my favorite year, 1978. Oh, 78, my best year, my favorite year. Well, let's find out why then, right? Okay, it has to do with a girl, young woman named Alessia. I'm not going to go into a full name because now she is a renowned pediatric psychiatrist. Right on, Alessia. Anyway, okay, so we were inseparable during this period of time. Now, I know we all know that I had a best friend, another best friend, who's, had a well-known person in their family. That also counts certainly as a best friend, but that best friend was like a soulmate best friend. I don't know how I could have survived being 12 without that young man, who actually has a phenomenal album that's just out. Go to iTunes, check it out. It's really amazing. He's amazing. Okay, aside from that, there was this girl named Alessia. Alessia was a good 6 years older than me. But that wasn't unusual because I was the type of kid, as we can all imagine, that would have a 16-year-old best friend at 10, which it was. So taking the other best friendship out of the way, because that's a different universe for me. That's more kind of like talking about family. And Alessia was family. She actually was, because my mother, being queen of Beverly Hills for 100 years, knew her mom. Her mom was a model, like she knew James Dean, and she was like really big model, whatever. So fashion model, they knew each other for 1,000 years, and Alessia and I, of course, were kind of put together. But we didn't really know each other like before 10, I guess. I didn't really know her at all. But suddenly, with Doris and my mother Liz, being their affiliation, we just sort of kind of fell into each other. Now, this is 77, 78, okay? So I'm 10, I was best friends with Alessia from about 10 to 13, let's say, a good 4 years, around the time as the other best friendship, which was much more than a best friendship. In a very platonic way, of course, that's disgusting. So, Alessia and I'm 10 years old, she's 16, so we are like inseparable for about 3 or 4 years. Now the reason, this show is everywhere and nowhere at the same time because Alessia and I could go on like forever, but we want to know basically why 78 was Sean's favorite year of his whole life. It is because, first of all, the West Hollywood area, which didn't exist, and Hollywood, you cannot describe Los Angeles at that time. As I always say, the good outweighed the bad, and the bad was pretty bad in that period of time for many of us. So Alessia and I just completely were inseparable, as I said. First of all, we thought Diana Ross was God. And we knew the Diana Ross anthology album backwards and forwards and sideways, upside down, 1,700 ways from Friday. She was a goddess. Alessia is the one that I actually went to all the Diana Ross concerts that I talked about in my Diana Ross show, Miss Ross. Well, Alessia is the one that I went with. The Schubert, the amphitheater, amphitheater. It was all Alessia and I worshiping at the temple of Diana Ross in the concert. Alessia and I saw The Wiz together when it first came to town from Broadway. Okay, so that gives you an idea of context, time-wise. So LA being this amazing place to be in 77, 78, late 70s, I cannot describe Los Angeles in the late 70s. It just is one of those cliched things. You had to have been there. You really had to have been there. The deterioration going on in Hollywood mixed with the disco nightclubs struggling to open up and gay liberation just exploding, several years, of course, beyond Stonewall. But this is LA. It's not New York. They're smart. I'm kidding. So, Alessia and I, like I said, running, first of all, Tower Records was also a temple because Tower Records You know, when I grew up, you know, half the place was 45s. A third, literally, of the store was 45s. Does anyone remember 45s? The little, little records like that big? And then vinyl everywhere. I remember when cassette tapes were like the new thing at Tower Records. And they had this little sliver that Alessia and I used to run to because, ooh, so new cassettes. She had just gotten a VW Rabbit. Now, VW Rabbits were the thing. They were these icky little Volkswagens, usually in bright colors, and it was the car, the first car, like mainstream car, that had the shoulder strap seat belts that connected to the door. So every time you opened the door, you stepped into the seat belt. You just couldn't help it. And of course, we took her VW Rabbit. We had a picture of a rabbit on the back to get the best stereo for the cassettes from Tower Records for Diana Ross. So lived there, lived many other places, oh my God. And it was an interesting thing too, because Alessia had her own peers, of course. She was 16, you know, 16, 17, you know, as these, my 10, 11, 12, her 16, 17. Me up through 13. But the unusual thing, like I said, is that she had her own set of friends her own age, 16, 17. I'm 10, okay? But I'm, as we can all imagine, an extremely precocious, quite intelligent 10-year-old. Okay, so with these other friends, it was never an issue. She had an older brother that I knew. It was, you know, I would just be around and people just accepted that we were best friends. But there were times when the older part creeped in, whatever that means. Like I remember at her place when Z Channel was the new thing, was the first cable channel, a box that you go, and we're hanging around watching the Z Channel, and I hope I can get away with this, kind of. And so Alessia, somebody goes to Alessia, do you want some cum gum? Now, there was this gum called Freshen Up when I was a kid, and it was a little squishy square, and then you bit in and this minty goo came out. So someone said, Alessia, do you want some cum gum? And I said, why are you calling it cum gum? And they all look at each other, and Alessia looks at me and she goes, because it comes out? Well, soon enough, I figured that one out, and I outdid them all with the Mae West impersonation. So, kind of trumped each other there in terms of maturity, I guess. Alessia and I saw the opening day of Star Wars, okay? We were in the first crowd to go in, daytime, matinee, only because they had filled the theater and there was like a couple of, like, ticket holders would have to go to the next night, the next line, and just keep waiting until they could see Star Wars. Like all day long, you just bump into further lines. But we grabbed the last couple of tickets of the first crowd that went into the Chinese theater to see Star Wars. There were no seats left except 2 in the front row. So I was with the first crowd that saw Star Wars at the Grauman's Chinese Theater. First crowd, first day, front row. Religious experience. As we did with King Kong, like we saw King Kong, the 70s King Kong, like day it opened. It was always like the day it opened, you know. And strangely enough, talking about movies, further down the line when I'm like 13, Alessia and I go out because she had lived in New York for a little bit. It's a long story. She had had sort of a boyfriend there, and Cruising, the movie, Cruising, had just come out. Now this was like a little bit later on in our friendship, 13-ish, and she decided she's going to take me to see Cruising at that age. I'm sorry, Alessia, if I'm blowing your cover. And you guys, we literally had to cross picket lines to see Cruising. So here, and I was a little, she didn't, I did. I was stoned. But it was weird. You guys, I mean, you know, you hear stories about when Cruising came out, like the big Al Pacino movie about, you know, like underground sex clubs in New York City and unliving people and all that. So the gays, as Jennifer Coolidge would say, there was picket lines, like not just two people. And so we crossed the picket line, giggling. And let's just not go into what that movie is, because the first scene of the movie is such carnage. We'll just forget Alessia ever took me to see that movie. But it was a blast, because she was a blast, we were a blast. And like I said, then she ended up moving to New York City, kind of bi-coastally, because she was interning at a famous, like PBS, like it was WGN, it was scientific, and she started like diving into scientific, being a consultant as she studied in New York. And that snowballed, and today, like I said, she is one of the country's renowned pediatric psychiatrists. So I hope maybe I helped with that somehow. I can't imagine how. And that kind of wound it down, except that if any of you know Manhattan 1980, 79, 80, there was a club called Hurrah. And anyone in Manhattan at that time knows what I'm talking about. Hurrah was one of the places. I mean, like Blondie played at Hurrah. Then it became like an amazing bi-coastal thing. We went to a concert in Central Park. I'm coking out in the public bathroom. So anyway, that's why I said this show's kind of like everywhere and nowhere, because I don't know where to start, finish, and jump in, whatever. But it was the reason, or one of the, 3/4 of the reason, 2/3 of the reason why 1978 was the year of my life. Like I said, LA in 78, you just really had to have been there. And there's a shit ton of other things that were going down that we dove into, that we were just running around, literally running around West Hollywood, just anything, movies, concerts. So like I said, that's kind of why 78 was when I think of 1978, it was the calm before the storm. The storm had already started brewing, but 78 was right before everything started getting ridiculously horrifying, some of it. So it was summer of love. What can I say? So I know I've been going on enthusiastically and in 17 directions with this one, but hi, Alessia. And I don't know, you were so much a part of me. And I hope I was part of you. Anyway, I'll let you go. I'm over as usual, I'm sure. And I'll get this slapped together in a teaser and up, and I'll see you tomorrow. There'll be a clip or two and a preview. And I do love you guys for sharing my excitement, for sharing my crappy days, I'm able to come here and not have the crappy day that I was having. Let's put it that way, okay? Take care. Be bad, be good, whatever. And I'll see you tomorrow, okay? Bye. Love you.